to the IT Fundamentals Training Series. This is Chapter 1, Episode 9. I want to welcome you. My name is Mark Haupt, your host. Let's talk about the panels, the front and the back panel connectors today. Welcome back. Again, this is Mark Haupt. I'm your host, and we're going to talk about the front panel and back panels. And you'll notice by the size of the conversation that exists inside of the book, there's not really a lot that you need to know or learn here for the test, but they do give you this wonderful figure 1.14, which is the computer back panel. And I want to go over that a little bit because there's some important things to point out here that will be good foundations for later on in the book. But the bottom line is this: you have back panels and front panel connectors, and each computer could be different. But typically what you'll find on the back of the computers are connections for your monitors, whether that be VGA, DVI, HDMI, different options like that. You'll have USB ports, which is for all of your other peripherals, your mouse, your keyboard, your printer, and so on and so forth. Some of your older computers will have other types of printer cable ports, or possibly even the PS2 type of mouse or keyboard connectors. And those are the round ones that have pins in them. On the board, they would be the female side, so the holes, if you will, that would be there. Typically, you also have audio ports in order to plug in an external headset or an external pair of speakers. Typically, you'll have that the speaker portion of that would be a light green color and multiple colors on that piece as well. And you'll also have a network interface card, or NIC, where you could plug in an RJ45 network cable, which is a very I probably can't even say that anymore. I was going to say it looks like a very large telephone cable, but with nobody using plug-in telephones in their homes anymore, that's one that's hard for people to visualize. Another thing you'll find on the back of these connectors on the back panel is typically also a Wi-Fi antenna. Now, on the front panel connectors, you could have a host of different things, but typically you're going to have a power button. And keep in mind that your front panel could also be your top. So I have a tower computer, for example, or even my laptop that I'm working off right now. The front panel on the laptop is a button on top of it that allows me to turn on and turn off the computer. On my desktop, my tower desktop, which is a gaming computer, the button for the power is also on the very top. So when we're talking about front panels, it could be on the top, it could be on the front, or it could actually be split into both. But you're probably going to have a couple of USB ports on there, and you're also probably going to have a couple of lights that are indicating potentially the flickering lights will indicate the hard drive is receiving or transmitting data across the bus to the motherboard to be processed, or back to the hard drive to be stored. And then the power light, which will typically be just on solid, letting you know that the power is going to the computer, which actually is kind of valuable sometimes when you have nothing on your screen. You may want to be able to know whether there's power going to the computer or not. So anyway, there's also, with that power button, there's also a reset button. Now, that reset button allows you to restart the entire computer or reset the computer without power clearing it. Now, we had talked about volatile and non-volatile memory earlier. Remember, the random access memory, or RAM, is a volatile memory. When you do a reset, typically the volatile memory will remain with the computer. It's only when you do a power clear or a power shut off, and sometimes only when you actually pull the power from the back of the computer, is when the RAM or the volatile memory will be completely wiped away. Now, there is value in that. So, for example, if you get a malware or malicious piece of software, a virus inside of your computer, you're definitely going to want to do a power reset, pull the power cord completely from the machine. If your computer's running slow and seems like it's getting bogged down, a power clear will often fix that. In fact, it's a joke within IT. Did you turn that on or off? And it's so much of a joke that it made itself to a British TV show. And I'm trying to remember the name of it right now, but there's a British TV show that was kind of their tagline. Did you turn it on and off? And that's an important way to clear the computer. But the reset button will just simply restart the operating system. Actually, it goes back to post and restarts BIOS with post and then restarting the operating system, but does not clear most of the volatile memory. So you need to know the distinction between those for your tests. But let's take a look at figure 1.14, which is at the top of your book on page 21. And what we're going to do is going to go from left to right, and we're actually going to go from left and then all the way to the right, and then we'll go back left and kind of work ourselves across, because what you find on the left-hand side is kind of not visible unless you really look for it. But if you're looking down on the bottom corner of that motherboard, you'll see a circular plug-in type of thing there, and that is an audio type of port. More than likely, it could also be an old-fashioned video type port, because it is sitting next to two video card connectors, but more than likely it's an audio port. If it were video, it would be more like an RCA type connection. Remember how you might have used to plug in a DVD player or a VCR type of thing, and it would have the yellow, white, and red in it. That would be probably one of the yellow connectors. I believe it's yellow that goes for video. That's possible what it is, but it's more likely audio. Now, if we swing all the way to the right, you'll see a stack here of 6 little holes. Those are for various audio type of connections. Your black is most likely for your microphone, and the rest are for stereo or mono type of audio. These types of connectors are rarely used anymore, but you still find them on computers, because the different types of connectors, without going into too much detail, but if you look at those types of connectors, it's like a pin, a single pin that goes in there. And actually, if you look at them very closely, you'll see at the end of them, they have tips, rings, and rings. And each one of those layers is actually a receiver or transmitter at a different finite level on that plug. And so the quality of the audio, whether it be microphone or audio itself you're listening to, is finer or better depending on which type of microphone and headset you have and connector. So you can get some pretty high definition audio potentially out of those on that right hand side. So those are audio and microphone. So again, left side, right side. So now we're going to go back to the left here, and you'll see 2 connectors that look like they've got a bunch of holes in them. One of them on the top has a bunch of circular holes, and the one on the bottom has a whole bunch of square holes with a horizontal hole. These are video connectors. The one on the top is a VGA connector. That's an older type of connection. You still need to know what VGA is. You still know what the possibility is, but it's those types of connectors are the ones that attach to the large CRT type of or cathode ray tube type monitors that are pretty much non-existent or only live in museums these days. But some people have them and they utilize them, and that's the connector. The next one down is a digital video interface, or a DVI. That one is largely superseded by HDMI right now, but you do find a lot of monitors that still have that option in there, and it gives you a high quality video that can run pretty fast, but HDMI even runs faster and better. So if you move over one more step, what you have in there are a whole bunch of different types of USB ports, or the universal serial bus ports in there. Then if you move one more step over to the right, so now we're sitting at the stack of 3 that's right next to the looks like the Lego block of 6 audio connectors. That one there, the one on the top is your RJ45 network interface cable. Now we'll talk about that a little bit later, but the RJ45 is essentially a plug-in that I'm sure you've seen on the end of network cables. Snaps in there. It has 8 wires inside of it to transmit the various network capacity across there. Those 2 little eyes, if you will, those or lights that are on the top left and right of that particular connector, will identify for you, if they're blinking, will identify the transmit and the receive capability and activity that's going on that network cable. And that will give you a good idea as to whether the network, the physical layer of the network, is operating or not. And we'll get into that whole physical layer network thing probably more in our A+ training, which is next quarter. And certainly in our third quarter, when we're doing Network Plus training, we'll get more into that. And then below that, again, are a couple of more USB ports. Now, the one thing that is missing here is a true HDMI cord. More than likely, the one that's kind of a thick and has the little angles on it at the top of the very center stack there. More than likely, that is a form of a high-speed wire that can be used for video, but it's typically used for external drives. But the piece that I definitely see missing here is a true HDMI. So this is an older motherboard in figure 1.14. All right, so for today, those are the important things you need to know, probably a little bit more than what you need to know about the front and the back of the connectors on the computer. I would recommend that you just kind of glance over the real world scenario about Motherboards Revisited. That's just in there talking about how to distinguish between different motherboards and a little bit of information that is not testable. So I wouldn't worry about that too much, but it's something worthwhile knowing. And again, what's testable for today is just the fact that there are back panel and front panel connectors, the power button, the difference between the power and the reset buttons, knowing what your audio ports are, and knowing what the USB and the video ports are. So it's been good learning about our back panel, front panels. Again, if you have questions, I still have not received any direct questions, although I have finally received some feedback from a couple of you that you are enjoying these, you're learning, so keep doing so. But if you have any questions, go ahead and email me those questions at mhoupt@commonsensesecurity. That's one word, commonsensesecurity.net. Be happy to take your questions, and I look forward to helping you out even further. So this is episode 9. And we're going to close up with that. And next time we're going to take a look at processors on chapter 22, or sorry, page 22 and 23. Have a good day.